guys, we're going to start chapter 3, The Watsons Go to Birmingham. It's called The World's Greatest Dinosaur War Ever. I couldn't believe it. The door opened in the middle of math class and the principal pushed the older raggedy kid in. Mrs. Cordell said, "Boys and girls, we have a new student in our class starting today. His name is Rufus Fry. Now I know all of you will help make Rufus feel welcome, won't you?" Somebody sniggled. "Good, Rufus. Say hello to your new classmates, please." He didn't smile or wave or anything. He just looked down and real quiet said, "Hi." A couple of girls thought he was cute because they said, "Hi, Rufus." "Why don't you sit next to Kenny and he can help you catch up with what we're doing," Mrs. Cordell said. I couldn't believe it. I'd wanted my personal savior to be as far away from me as he could get. I knew when you had two people who were going to get teased a lot so close together, they didn't choose which one of them to tease. They would tease both of them. And instead of picking on them the normal amount, they picked on them twice as much. Mrs. Cordell pushed the new kid over to the empty seat next to me. "Kenny, show Rufus where we are in the book." I watched the new kid sideways. He said, "Kenny, I thought you said your name was Poindexter." The class cracked up, part from his country style of talking and part from laughing at me. I could tell that even Mrs. Cordell was fighting not to break out laughing. Though he looked friendly when he said this, I kinda knew it had to be teasing, because who ever heard of anybody's mama giving them a name like Poindexter? When he sat down next to me, I tried to imitate Byron's death stare, but it didn't work because the kid smiled a real big smile and said, "My name's Rufus. What are we doing?" "Times tables." "That's easy. You need some help?" "No," I said and scooted around in my chair so that all he could see was my back. This guy was real desperate for a friend because even though I wouldn't say much back to him, he kept jabbering away at me all through class. When lunchtime came, he followed me outside right to the part of the playground where I sit to eat. He forgot about bringing his lunch, so I gave him one of Mama's throat-choking peanut butter sandwiches and let him eat the last half of my apple. He really was a strange kid. He only ate half the sandwich and folded up the rest in the wax paper, and when I handed him the apple, he even ate the spots where you could see my teeth had been. He'd even wiped the slob off first. And man, this kid could really talk. He was yakking a mile a minute, saying stuff like, "Your mama sure can make a good peanut butter sandwich, and how come these kids is so darn mean?" Then he said something that made me get all funny and nervous inside. He said, "How come your eyes ain't looking in the same way?" I looked to see if maybe he was starting some kind of teasing, but he looked like he really wanted to know. He wasn't staring at me either. He was kind of looking down and kicking at the dirt with his raggedy shoes. "It's a lazy eye." He stopped kicking the dirt and said, "Don't it hurt?" "No." He said, "Oh," and then kicked a little more dirt and hollered out, "Ooh, boy, look at how fat that there is." "What? You don't see that squirrel?" he asked me and pointed up at the tree across the street. "That is one sure fat, dumb squirrel." I looked at the squirrel. It didn't look fat or dumb to me. It looked like a regular old squirrel sitting on a branch chewing on something. "How come you think it's dumb?" "What kind of squirrel sits out in the open like that with folks all around him? That squirrel wouldn't last 2 seconds in Arkansas. I'd pick him off easy as nothing." The new kid pointed at the squirrel like his finger was a gun and said, "Bang, squirrel stew tonight." "You mean you shot a gun before? Ain't you? You mean you really ate a squirrel before? You ain't? A real gun? Just a .22? How's a squirrel taste?" "It tastes good." "You mean you really shoot 'em with real bullets and then you really eat 'em?" "Why else shoot them? Real squirrels like that one?" "Not that fat, not that stupid. I guess all the fat and stupid ones already been gotten. Since I've been born, all that's left in Arkansas is skinny, sneaky ones. I tell them Michigan squirrels is worth 2 Arkansas ones." "You aren't lying." He raised his hand and said, "I swear for God." "Ask Cody." "Who?" The little shrunken-up version of the new kid was standing by himself up against the fence that runs around Clark, watching us. The new kid waved at him, and his little brother came running over. The big one pointed over at the squirrel. "Cody, look at there." Cody laughed and said, "Ooh, boy, that sure is one fat squirrel." "Think you could pick him off?" Cody pointed his finger like it was a gun and said, "Bang, squirrel stew tonight." I couldn't believe this little kid had shot a gun too. "You shot a real gun?" "Just a .22, with real bullets?" The little one looked at his big brother to see why I was asking all this stuff. It seemed like they were trying to be patient with me, like I was a real dummy or something. The other one said, "Tell him." "Yeah, it was real bullets. What else you gonna shoot out of a gun?" I still didn't believe